Jonathan, anyone there? Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy, we're here for you. Are you okay? Are you okay? What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the broadcast. This is Fear Talk Radio, our second episode after our inaugural number one. We posted about 2.5 weeks ago by the time this guy's going up. And yeah, we have been loving the reception. TikTok's going a little crazy comparatively to everything else. And we're just happy to see some interaction going on back and forth between basically what we're trying to put out into the world and you guys. So yeah, what do you got to say about it, John?
I'm going to say this. Thank you for all the followers. Hopefully by the time this podcast goes up, we are actually at 250 followers on TikTok. To everybody that followed, to everybody that subbed, to everybody that left a comment, thank you so much. I've read all of them, and I mean all of them.
Yeah, and but overall, no, we're super happy to see all the interaction actually happening between this content that we're putting out and what you guys consume. It just feels good that it's not going into the void of nothingness that the internet can sometimes be.
Also, sorry. Also, I think one of our videos, by the time this podcast comes out, 200,000 views. That's insane. Like, honestly, it's like 7,000 likes on the channel already. 200,000 views on just one video, and that one video has about, like, I think 6,500 likes.
Yeah,
a lot of comments, and, like, honestly, guys, like, keep it up. Like, even if you have something like you want to debate about, like, please, like, tell us. Like, if we do not mind at all.
Yeah, we literally have a hot take segment on this podcast, so therefore we like hot opinions.
Yes.
So please throw them at us. And yeah, I might actually throw a little stinger out there to see it on TikTok, like a video saying, hey, post your hot opinions down here. Mm-hmm. And we might actually take some TikTok users' hot opinions regarding the horror genre.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I might actually put a little thing out there for that. I think that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be really fun to, like, especially like having the people's like opinion and like knowing that their opinion can be talked about.
Yeah. So recently, Jonathan and I had a movie night.
Mm-hmm.
We watched Jordan Peele's movie Us, and I don't know how you feel about it, Jonathan, but it was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. The premise, everything to do with it. I think it's so cool that he had like one family represented in their evil forms, their shadow forms. Super cool. Oh, I should say this too. Spoilers for the movie Us real quick. I'll put a timestamp for the news section that will be right after this.
I think spoilers just for any movie that we talk about today. So when you hear a movie that you haven't seen or want to see, just skip it, because there's going to be spoilers.
There's going to be timestamps in the description, so check those out. And we're going to be covering news. So yeah, just kind of jump around, do it as you will. But yeah, Us. What'd you think about it?
Something I'm going to say about Jordan Peele movies. Out of the three that he has made so far with directing for horror movies, I think he has done a fantastic job. I know that you haven't seen the other movies, such with Nope and Get Out.
Yeah. Which
are two amazing movies. And in my opinion, I think that Us is the weaker of the three. I think it's Get Out, Nope, and Us. But Jordan Peele does a really good job with foreshadowing in his movies. I don't know if there was a lot of things that you picked up on, but a lot, and they're such subtle details. Like, they're very subtle details that you just would not think of until you rewatch the movie or like look back at it in a different perspective, knowing the twist, knowing the plot, all that kind of stuff. One of the best things that even I pointed out at the beginning was when she was eating a strawberry. She was nibbling on it like a rabbit. And I remember being like, why is she eating it like that? And it's supposed to, everything in a Jordan Peele movie, if it happens for a reason. Why is she eating the strawberry like that? It's because she's a variant of a rabbit, the shadow form of herself. One of the other things that I actually found out too is the reason that do you know the reason why they're wearing the red suits?
What's that?
So when the girl gets kidnapped, the main girl, I don't remember her name, I'm sorry. When she gets kidnapped and gets taken, she had a Michael Jackson shirt on. in the movie, and it was for the movie music vid. It was for the music video Thriller. He's wearing a red jumpsuit in that.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's correlating all together. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, whenever I was starting to watch it, I hadn't seen a Jordan Peele movie yet. And so I knew going in that there was going to be a lot of foreshadowing. So even with the little boy, whenever he was looking with his little magic trick thing, I was thinking to myself, okay, what is he trying to set up here? What are we creating? Throughout the entire beginning of the movie, I had no idea where we were going. I was just along for the ride. And then you get to the scene where the family shows up and they're all holding hands in the yard. I found that incredibly terrifying. Both Abraham, which is the evil father variant, shadow person, I might say, and Pluto, the little son who has the mask on, were to me the most terrifying variants of the family and whatnot. Did you have, what was the most terrifying one?
The daughter. The daughter was the most terrifying to wait. I would not be able to outrun her. Something else too. Did you also notice that the mom or the main girl was the only one that knew how to talk because she's the only one that isn't a shadow like tethered.
Ah.
And her voice sounds like that because she got choked out.
Yes.
When she got taken.
Yeah.
So that's why her voice sounds like that. There's also a lot of correlations with the movie that Jordan Peele loves for like other Halloween movies or other horror movies, I'm sorry, such as like Jaws. I don't know if you noticed like the beach scene. Like, did you get any Jaws vibes of that?
Yes,
like,
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's a lot like Jaws. The son, his name is Jason, and he always had a mask with him. Yeah.
Wow. Dude, actually, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome.
By the
way...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, by the way, Friday the 13th was actually yesterday as of the day we're recording this, so shout out to that.
We were going to record yesterday, too.
We were going to record yesterday, but I was extremely exhausted, so we didn't. But, yeah, no. Shouts out to Friday the 13th. I saw so many tattoo places are actually giving away. Okay, did you see this online, too? Like that, like, so many tattoo
they do that all the time.
Giving out flashes, yeah.
They do that all the time. Like, tattoo shops, like, they advertise, like, Friday. They literally have a thing of when the next Friday the 13th is going to be.
Yeah, I eat up flash sheets that tattoo artists put online. Mm-hmm. I could literally scroll through those things for hours. They're so fun to look at. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, cool. So us, give it a rating. What's your number out of 10?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I liked it a lot, but it didn't scare me.
I will say, I think like that's, I think kind of because I know that Jordan Peele movies aren't really the kind of like horror. They're more storytelling, in my opinion. And I feel that the reason that Us is weaker compared to Nope and Get Out is because I feel Get Out and Nope like had a reason why they happened. I'm not going to spoil it right now because I still want you to watch them, but it felt like Us happened just so quickly. Like it went to the main conflict so quickly because it had to happen. It had to happen at that point. Get Out happens for a reason, and it feels like Nope happens because it just can happen at any point. It felt like it was the perfect time at the perfect place. Like for Us, like where they were going to get out of that place. They were all going to go kill themselves as soon as they were on vacation there. It just felt too like,
yeah.
And that's not me saying it's bad. I think that's why it's weaker, because it feels like that's what we had to do to get the story move forward.
Understandable. It's still so much better than a lot of the slop that's put out these days. In regards to horror movies. Speaking of that actually might tie into our first few films that we're going to talk about that are coming out soon in the horror world.
Let's do it.
Have you ever seen Smile 1?
I've heard of it. I didn't really watch it. I didn't think it looked that good.
Okay, so Smile 2 is coming out October 18th, and the trailer just dropped, and it's going to theaters. I didn't really think much of it. I didn't see Smile 1.
Mhm.
So I didn't have high expectations as I was researching this, but I watched the trailer, and this thing is absolutely terrifying. I totally recommend you go give it a watch after this, or viewers, stop this podcast for a second and go give it a watch. This is like a really freaky trailer. The smiles themselves actually don't really get to me all that much. More so, what scares me is just the tension that this trailer at least builds. It makes me want to go back and watch the original because the smiling never scared me. But if they're able to build tension in a thriller-esque way that basically jumps over to being a horror movie, I'm totally going to be down for that.
I remember seeing the posters for Smile. I remember the posters being really freaky and it being like scaring me as like when I was younger. Uh, but our this movie, when did that first movie come out?
I believe it wasn't but a couple years ago, maybe 2019, 2021.
I'm gonna be honest. Then I'm thinking of a completely different movie. I'm thinking of Smiley. I think
Oh yeah, these are the ones with the people who actually they were going to football games and whatnot, and they were like smiling in the crowd.
kind of like
Do
Truth
you,
or
do you know what I'm talking about?
Dares, like smiles. Like, do you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
and so
about?
basically, there's my analysis of what this movie is it's this infection that's going around, and these people are smiling, and like one person has to deal with all these smiling people coming after them. So the promotional material that they had for the first movie was basically getting paid actors to go out and stand at like a football game or any public event, and this is like in real life. And what they would do is they just smile at like cameras. So basically, they'll be at an NFL game, staring straight at the camera, smiling. And this was promotional material for the movie Smile. I
Oh,
haven't
wow,
seen them doing that for Smile 2.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Did
the smiling's not really creepy. I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but it doesn't really creep me out at all.
did it do good in the box office?
I think the first one was fairly successful. I guess they wouldn't have a second one if the first one wasn't okay.
Yeah. Well, that's not 100% true.
Yeah, there's plenty of shitty sequels.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. What can I say to piss people off? Happy Death Day 2 did not need a sequel.
Yeah, but
That's it.
I mean, Smile 2 coming out October 18th. Let's jump to this next one.
Let's do it.
This is something I'm freaking excited about. We talked about it a little bit last time, and I'm so freaking hyped about it.
Is it the Pooverse?
It is not the Pooh Burst, my
Fuck!
friend. It is the Creep Tapes coming out November 15th. It's a TV
Oh.
show. It's coming both to Shudder and AMC Plus. So I talked to you about Creep 1 and Creep 2, and for anyone who didn't hear that, Creep 1 and Creep 2 is basically about this individual who is creepy, and he is a killer, and it's a found footage style movie. And if you don't know what found footage style movies are, it's basically where it's recorded from like a device someone might have or like their phone. It's not like actual cinema. I shouldn't say cinematography, but it's not professional cinematography. It's always from a device. And the reason it's being recorded is tied into the movie itself. So with The Creep 1 and 2, basically this guy was filming this individual at his house, and while he was at his house, the man was doing really weird things, and he was hired to come film him for a day. And I don't want to spoil too much because I really want you guys to go watch this. It's such a good movie, and I mainly want Jonathan to go watch this.
Yeah, I remember you
But
talking about it, and it sounded really good. And I think it was that movie. It was Creep, and it was Lamb that you wanted me to watch, right?
yeah, yeah, we were actually going to watch Lamb the other night, but there's animal abuse that happens in it, and I'm a little nervous about watching it, but I'm going to try to. I mean, it's not real animal abuse. It's just there's
For anyone that doesn't know, Taylor's vegan.
I'm a vegan. But oh, and I should just say this. Vegan teacher, I don't like you. I think you give us vegans a bad name. Anyways, back to the Creep Tapes. This is off of Bloody Disgusting. It's a news site that I get a lot of the information for these podcasts from. They basically reported and said, the Creep Tapes continues to unravel the mind of the secluded serial killer who lures videographers into his world with the promise of a paid job documenting his life. Unfortunately, as the tape rolls, the killer's questionable intentions surface with his increasingly odd behavior, and the victims will learn they may have made a deadly mistake. So it seems like it's going to go along the same line as other movies, but I believe they said this is going to be 6 episodes. I am 110% tuning in, and I'm going to make Cameron tune in too.
That sounds honestly, it sounds really good.
It's so good.
I don't have much to put on it because I haven't seen Creep. I know last episode we did talk about watching stuff that we needed to do, like our homework. We didn't watch the Pooverse. We didn't watch we didn't watch Hell House. We didn't watch Poughkeepsie tapes. Nothing.
We didn't watch any of the things we said we were going to watch, but I did watch a lot of clips of them. And so I will say this, the Poughkeepsie tapes is a very fucked up movie. And I did not enjoy watching clips of it.
Yeah, it's not one I really recommend watching. It's just more of one I'm like, hey, this was one I didn't really enjoy watching because I also said, I don't know if anybody really caught this, and like I kind of wanted to specify in case someone did have an opinion on it. I said it felt like it would hit too close to home. What I mean by that is it feel like I'm out of like all my family, out of all my cousins and everything like that. Taylor is like one of my only like guy family cousins slash whatever I have. I have 2 guy cousins and like the rest of 20 are girls. That's what I meant as in it feels like it would hit too close to home because I wouldn't want like my mom, my sister, my girlfriend, my cousins, nothing like that to ever happen to them. That's why it was hard to watch because it does happen to women around the world. And that's why I was like, it's hard to watch. It's really hard.
For any of you who don't know, the Poughkeepsie tapes is actually just about a serial killer who abducts women, and it's very disturbing, and it pushes the boundaries on basically that whole experience in general. It's very uncomfortable, and yeah, just to put a kind of preface on what the movie actually is.
I also like do you plan on watching it?
I might watch it.
Okay.
It looked like it had some interesting visuals, and I love found footage. But you know, if it feels like sometimes hard topics can be covered in horror movies and they do it tastefully. If it doesn't do it tastefully, I'm not really interested. If you're going to cover a hard topic, you have to do it in a good way, and there has to be purpose behind it.
I will say the acting, someone did point out in one of our comments, the acting is for like the people who are doing like the like mockumentary, it is a little bad. There's some like CGI that's not that great. The acting's not the best, but the guy who plays the kidnapper and the girls who get kidnapped are like really good. Like it felt too real.
You know, and maybe that's the point that they're trying to get across, which I'm sure it is. I mean, it's a horror movie based upon these types of experiences, so like, yeah, that's what they're going
But
for.
I think one thing that it did go over that I really enjoyed was how at the end of the movie, it's not really too much of a spoiler. At the end of the movie, they end up finding the girl that he ended up loving and had a lot. He kept her for I don't know how many years. I think it was like at least 2 or 3 years. He ended up keeping her. They ended up finding her. And when they found her, she wanted to go back to him. She's like, he loved me and I want to go back. Even though the only thing that she would ever want to say is, you are my one only true love. Like, you are the one, the only one. She said something on the lines of that. I don't remember what she kept saying. And she said that so much and it had to implant it in her brain that he loved her no matter how much he was beating her, no matter how much he was raping her. It was just really hard to watch. And to hear that she wanted to go back to that, it was hard to hear. But I feel that's realistic because...
So, yeah, that's actually a thing. I studied psychology in school, and whenever I was getting my degree, we went over different types of these kind of circumstances and whatnot. And Stockholm Syndrome is a thing where you actually grow attachment to the person who is holding you captive, and that is a thing that occurs. And that's a lot of times why abusive relationships are hard for people to leave. So yeah, that actually, I saw that represented in some of the clips I watched. One of the horrific elements that I noticed, because I hadn't watched any of the movie prior to watching the clips, is there's this girl named Cheryl, and she's actually the individual who we're talking about who still loves him even though she escaped. She was getting interviewed, and I don't know if this is just dropped in the movie, but she scratches her head during the interview, and she doesn't have a hand.
That's at the end.
And that was terrifying for me. That was terrifying because I was like, why doesn't she have a hand? I was expecting there to be a hand, but it's enough. And to talk about she loves this individual and whatnot, and you can see what he's actually done to her physically. It's just terrifying.
It's disgusting. It is 100% disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. So on to a not lighter topic, but it's portrayed
lighter than that.
Way lighter than that. Speaking of another serial killer, Dexter Resurrection and Original Sin are two Dexter spinoffs that are coming December 13th and summer 2025, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are coming to Paramount Plus.
Colleen loves Dexter. I tried to watch the first season. I didn't really fall in love with it, but that was her type of show, and she watched it, and she hated the ending. And then when they released the real last season, ended up liking it, and then told me that there's going to be two spinoffs. So I actually did know about this, but I don't have any input on it because, again, I don't know much about the Dexter series. All I know is everyone hated the original ending, and then they made a new one, and they fixed it.
Yeah, and I mean, Cameron actually watched it all too, and I was talking about it with her earlier today because I haven't seen Dexter yet, and I'm actually going to go through and watch it. But I was like, is this like very horror-esque? And she's like, well, it's a serial killer. There's blood and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, we can consider this horror how we consider Jaws horror. And yeah, I want to talk about Dexter Original Sin, which is the prequel that just got announced for Dexter. It's set in 1991 Miami. This show follows Dexter as he transitions from student to avenging serial killer. When his bloodthirsty urges can't be ignored any longer, Dexter must learn to channel his inner darkness. So yeah, that's kind of going to be what it's about. It's just an origin story to Dexter. And then the other one, Resurrection, is going to be a sequel to the Dexter show. Two interesting horror-esque type shows coming out soon.
Do you know who is going to be following?
The second one, I have no clue because I haven't seen the first one.
Okay, because I think he. No, I just could be wrong. I think he dies, and I think he has a son. I think his son kills him.
Cameron told me there's a big plot twist. So,
well, I think I just spoiled the big plot twist.
Well, thank you.
I don't know. I could be wrong, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're two individuals who have not seen Dexter talking about Dexter.
I'll need to give it another chance. Colleen talks it up so much, and I guess she has a hard time watching shows, considering she watched all 8 seasons. That tells me it's a good show. So yeah, I need to go back and watch it. I need to give it another chance. I did not know this either. Did you know that the surprise motherfucker sound is actually from Dexter?
No.
The one that's like, surprise motherfucker.
I did not know that.
That's from Dexter.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
It's their not their boss. I think they're like whoever detective he was.
Yeah.
And he was on to Dexter like the entire time.
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Cool.
That's all I know. I don't know what happens after that.
Yeah, well, he might get killed off too.
Yeah.
So
also Dexter has the thing of like being like, oh, he's gonna get caught, and then something happens, and it's like, oh, he didn't get caught this time. Oh, he's about to get caught again. Oh, he didn't get caught this time. And it's a lot of back and forth with that.
Cool. Anything else to add on Dexter?
No.
Cool. My final film/TV show that I want to talk about is Salem's Lot, coming out October 3rd on Max. This is actually a big time Stephen King story. He wrote Salem's Lot, if you didn't know, and I'll tell you a little bit about it here. He tweeted praise for this film. He saw it early, and he wrote, "I've seen the new Salem's Lot, and it's quite good. Old school horror filmmaking, slow build, big payoff. Not sure why Warner Brothers is holding it back. It's not like it's embarrassing or anything." So basically, they're talking about there. They've been holding on to this movie for a minute, apparently, and they're just now releasing it October 3rd. And if you don't know, anyone who doesn't know Salem's Lot, big vampire story about this town, and it's going to be set in 1975, same time as the book was set. Here is a little synopsis. Haunted by an incident from his childhood, author Ben Mayers returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover the town is being preyed upon by a bloodthirsty vampire and his loyal servant. So, yeah, big time Stephen King book being adapted to a movie. We've seen this time and time again. Stephen King, interestingly, does always make the protagonist an author. And I think that's just because he is an author and it's easier for him to relate to that and he can understand its experience. But yeah.
Isn't it a thing that Stephen King isn't good at making endings to his book?
He's not. I've listened to multiple Stephen King books and many of them do not end well. Like Misery ends okay, so for anyone who doesn't know Misery, this is a story about another author who is traveling down a road on a trip, and he basically crashes, and he wakes up from his crash, and a old farm lady has picked him up, and she is a super fan of this author. So she ties him up to the bed, and he's in pretty poor condition and he needs to get to a doctor, but she will not let him out, and she's a nurse, and so she has a whole bunch of medicine, and she just slowly is feeding him medicine and whatnot and getting him to write stories for her. And if he doesn't follow what she says, she will torture him. So in the spoilers, in the movie, she beats his legs and basically breaks them, and in the book she chops off his leg because he won't write how she wants to, and he starts trying to escape, basically. There's also a super cool scene in the book where a police officer gets there to try to help him, and this is near the end of the book, and he's like, oh my gosh, help me, help me, help me. And she pushes him over and runs over him with a lawnmower and shreds him to death. It's quite gruesome, yeah. And so getting to how the ending is bad, he ends up escaping, and he gets back to his normal life. And the whole ending is basically he just keeps on seeing her everywhere he goes, which is a realistic ending, and maybe that's the horror in it. It left me feeling uneasy, but I didn't like the ending. And maybe the reason people don't like Stephen King endings is because it doesn't have that satisfaction that we might crave.
Yeah, I can see why a lot of people think that. The few adaptations of Stephen King films that I've seen, like from book to film, obviously I've seen, I think like The Green Mile. I think that has a good ending.
The Green Mile is amazing. Would you consider The Green Mile a horror movie, though?
Nah. Like, they used to show it on ABC Family.
Yeah, I read the book back in, was it high school? Yeah, I read the book in high school, and it was just a very comforting book.
It is. It's not, I think there are scary elements to it, like, you know, with the bugs and everything like that, but I feel like the whole movie itself is just more uplifting than anything. It is very sad. I don't know if you haven't seen the movie. Holy shit, the ending's sad as hell. I think we talked about it last time. I'm not going to go too much into that. Gerald's Game was one that was a little harder to watch. I don't know if you know what Gerald's Game is.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think it was weird because it feels like it had to happen, like with like a demon had to be there for some reason. But I just like the idea of realistic horror of something like that happen, and she starts hallucinating. You know, she's chained up to the bed, and her husband ends up passing out and having a stroke and dying.
Yeah, I think that he can create really realistic situations, and then he can create It and Salem's Lot and all these types of films that are very different. I want to tell you about this one Stephen King book that I recently listened to. Completely changed my outlook on Stephen King. It was whenever he was a younger author and he was going by a pseudonym. I can't remember what the pseudonym was, but he wasn't going by Stephen King. It's called The Long Walk. And this book is so interesting. It's basically about this group of kids, and it's almost like the Hunger Games before the Hunger Games. All these kids sign up, they're about 15, 16, to go on a long walk. And what this long walk is it's this spectacle that happens once per year, and the U.S. military puts it on. And it's basically where all of these 15 and 16-year-old boys walk until one of them's left. They aren't allowed to stop until they get to the end, and there's one person left, and you get basically riches once you survive. I totally recommend reading this, but spoilers ahead. As it's going on and going on, each boy gets picked off. He forms friendships. Even the people who he hates, he grows to truly miss them after they're gone. And it's a desperately sad story that you can already foretell what the end is going to be before it gets there. Yeah, I totally just want to recommend that.
I had to Google it just to make sure. I thought The Thing was Stephen King. It said it was by someone else.
Yeah, The Thing's by someone else, I believe.
But I think Stephen King had a lot to do with the filming. Maybe I don't know. I remember him being correlated with it for some type of reason. And you haven't seen The Thing, have you?
I haven't. No, that's a huge horror movie that I just haven't seen yet.
That's one of those horror movies. Like, it's like usually a lot of horror movies back in like the old, like back in like when they were like really popular, like in the 70s and 80s with like Jason, Michael Myers, all that kind of stuff. Those are more entertaining to watch, and I think they have like, you know, scare factors. But I think The Thing is like actually scary, like as much as like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, which I literally just added it to my list to rewatch it because I want to go back and watch the OG. I think they've made 2 remakes so far, and both of them aren't as good as the original. And so yeah, I'm kind of itching to go back and watch.
We actually recently rewatched the original Halloween. Yeah, I think yesterday actually.
Yeah. How did it hold up? How do you like it?
A lot of horny teenagers, man.
That's all those old slasher films had horny teens.
I was like, God Almighty! Like, it's just everybody wants to be like sucking and fucking and dying. Like, God Almighty!
That's how those movies were, and yeah, I don't think it's changed too much. They try to replicate it these days, and it just comes across really like bad now.
I don't know. Like, there's nothing wrong. Again, there was nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that's all I thought of was like, holy shit, everybody's just horny.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were trying to get people into theaters to see. I don't know.
Dude, actually, it was probably a secret way to make kids not have sex.
Because you will be killed by Michael Myers.
You will be killed by Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees,
who will slice you up
Ghostface. You're going to be killed by all of them, man. Like, you're going to be impaled by a goddamn spear. You're going to get dragged into the water.
Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, only has 1 sex scene, I want to say. I think so. And it doesn't show anything. For those of you... Nightmare on Elm Street. That's like my all-time favorite horror movie. Freddy Krueger in general is an awesome slasher. But let's move on through the news because we are going to be covering slashers very shortly. So, jumping to video games. I know you brought in one video game. Did you want to cover that first?
Yeah. I don't have the most information on it. I'm also saving it to be able to play on my channel. As of right now, me and my friend Gunnar are playing through all the Five Nights at Freddy's. But there's a new one that recently just came out called Into the Pit. And it's actually based off one of the books that Scott Cawthon had made himself. And I think it has a really cool design of how like the story is told. Basically what happens is this little boy is with his dad, and he ends up taking them to this place called Jeff's. I think that's what it's called. I don't know, but it's owned by the guy named Jeff. Big shocker. And his dad's trying to work a business deal with him or something like that. And the son ends up just kind of sitting around the pizzeria, just bored all day and eating pizza and just kind of listening to people's conversations. One of the conversations he ends up listening to is this old family who used to come back there in the 80s, and he hears about a ball pit that they used to have. And he's like, oh, a ball pit? Like, I haven't seen that before. So he goes like exploring, and he ends up finding the ball pit. He ends up going into the ball pit to hide from his dad to kind of teach him a lesson. When he comes out of the ball pit, he's actually traveled back in time to when the pizzeria was Freddy Fazbear's. He ends up traveling back in time. In the book, it ends up going back and forth with him going back there multiple nights to have fun. But in the game, he ends up being there on the night that the 5 children were killed by William Afton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about the lore.
Yeah. I watched this whole like super long video about it and then got really confused.
I've always been into the Five Nights at Freddy's series ever since it came out back in 2014. Always watching like game theories, like theories on how it happens. There's a lot of stuff he, kind of pushed the boundaries with, but I think with a lot of it, I think he was mainly right. It's kind of what people have just believed of what happened. But I've always really enjoyed the story. As I gotten older, I didn't really care too much about what happened after the 7th game, because I feel so. I put it into this perspective of Marvel, the MCU, where phase 1, 2, and 3 are the Infinity Saga, which is all about hyping up Thanos and all that, and ending off Thanos's reign, everything like that. And then phase 4 just kind of does something completely different. And in phase 5 as well, because I forgot that we're in phase 5 now. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 7 all have to do with the story of William Afton. It's kind of like the MCU. It didn't really turn out great once afterwards.
Yeah, no, you are much more in the Five Nights at Freddy verse than me, but I do know like minimal knowledge about it. Basically more than an average person, but less than a fan, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit where I'm at with it. This actually ties to one of the games I brought. I'm going to jump a little bit. So I want to relate this actually to your Five Nights at Freddy's game that you're bringing in. Poppy's Playtime Chapters 2 and 3 are coming to Xbox. And this isn't that big of a news story, but it ties in with Five Nights at Freddy's. I just want to get your take on these spin-offs that's happening, because they don't look good to me. They look pretty trash to me. So what do you think about it?
Did you ever play Poppy's Playtime, or did you ever watch it?
No, I watched the first chapter.
The first chapter, I think, did. I think it does what a lot of the spinoffs do, such as like Bendy and the Ink Machine. There's a lot of other ones, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head. Poppy's Playtime is obviously one of those, and I think Poppy's Playtime actually does it pretty well. I think the puzzles are pretty fun to discover, to try to figure out. I think the monsters are pretty scary, and that I don't know how to feel about it. I don't have a lot of input on the third chapter because I didn't play the third chapter, but I remember playing the first and second chapter, and there's obviously a story that they're trying to tell, and I think it's pretty interesting. And honestly, I think you should give it a try. They're only like $5, I believe, per chapter.
So overall, do you think that mascot horror has gone too far? And whenever I say mascot horror, can you explain what that means to the people?
Basically, mascot horror is stuff that they take from your childhood that was really popular, and they try to make it into a horror element, such as Five Nights at Freddy's. They made that from Chuck E. Cheese, the animatronics that used to be on stage, doing all that. A lot of people were creeped out about that kind of stuff. And so what Scott Cawthon did is he took that horror, like scary element that people had of it, and turned it into an actual horror game. And I think that's what really worked out with it, was that's what, because it was honestly one of the first few times that we had seen something like that. If there was something before it, like, let me know. I don't have a lot of input, but I think that was one of the biggest impacts that it had of that. And it just happened that he was creating these games back to back to back to back, because like 1 through 4 was made within the span of like a year or two. And
yeah, I think Scott's creation of Five Nights at Freddy's was the initial mascot horror creation of this genre.
Right. I also definitely do think that there is a lot of games that are just trying to do the mascot horror. I think Bendy and the Ink Machine did it pretty well, because I think it had a lot of different. One, it wasn't just the element of sitting in one place and doing all that. I think there is a better perspective of going to the wherever it was he was going. He basically, Bendy and the Ink Machine is a scary element of Disney. So like Mickey Mouse, not Donald, Goofy, and some other characters. And it basically is like those drawings came to life, and they're just bad. Like, he's made of ink, because that's how they used to draw the characters. But I think that did it well. I think there are a few of them out there that have tried to get on the ride of mascot horror. And to be honest, I'm a little tired of seeing the mascot horror. I think some of them do it pretty well, but I think like a lot of them are trying to ride up the success of Five Nights at Freddy's, of trying to add like, oh, there's some lore in here, but you have to play the next game to get all the lore. Like, oh, someone killed someone. Was it a child? Or I don't know. It was. I don't know. It just doesn't really feel like as creative because Scott Coffin is the one that did it first, and then a lot of people saw how successful it was and was like, yeah, we could do that.
So yeah, and I think it's running into the same problem that analog horror is running into, although I think analog horror, it's way less egregious than the mascot horror. But people are getting real tired of it because it's been done. And I think Backrooms kind of did analog horror in.
Yeah, I think Backrooms is very over, like, I don't want to say overrated because that's not, I think it's overused a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, I eat up Backrooms content.
Oh, I do too.
I love it so much, but there's so much slosh in the Backrooms content world. Like, there's some accounts, and there's so many different lore routes that you can take with it, that some of them make it very, like, childish, and then some of them actually take a more serious approach with it, and I really enjoy the serious one.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of infinite like possibilities that you can do with the Backrooms because it's literally different levels, and you could just be like, you could just shoot out a random number and be like level 1832, the shit room. It's a room full of shit, like, and it's a bathroom. I don't know, like you could again, people who have that creative mindset of I can create this and I can draw it or create an AI image of it, that's where you can do really well with it. I think like with the games of it, I feel like some of the games are pretty mediocre. I don't think they're meant to be good. The ones that have like proximity chat and everything, those are solid. Like, I'm a sucker for proximity chat games, and anyone who watches my YouTube videos knows that. JJ619 on YouTube.com. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
Nice.
I
will say this. I mean, I'm just very tired of scrolling through Reels or TikTok and seeing, if you're ever trapped on level 33 of the Backrooms and you find yourself on level fun, never talk to the party goers. And I'm just like, okay, like, I don't need to see 20 more of these videos.
Yeah. You know they're creating a Backrooms movie, I think.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Isn't the original creator helping out with it?
They actually reached out to him and are getting his input, and like I don't know if he's going to be like the director or anything, but I think he's going to be one of the leaders of the creative team.
From what I hear, he's a bit of a genius. Yeah,
he's pretty smart from what I've heard. I haven't watched much of it or anything like that. I'm not really. I remember the Backrooms being a thing, like. I remember the Backrooms being like just when it was just a picture on Reddit or wherever on the internet, just anywhere. And that was like when we were in, I would say like high school. That was a while back. And then the analog video came out that he made, which I think really started popularizing it.
I will say that because the video ended up coming out in our college years, but I do remember that image was circulating online for a while. Yeah. In high school. I mean, and that was like in 2014, 2015 kind of time. So yeah. Let's move on to our next game. Dungeon Drone. Okay, so this game kind of looks a little Play-Doh-ish. Let me specify, though, why I think it's a fun game. I think you'll have a good time with it if you choose to play it. It's an extraction-based game, and it's a party game. So, Dungeon Drone centers on ordinary individuals, unequipped and unskilled in combat, but driven by the dream of becoming legendary heroes. To make a living, they must become scavengers, venturing into previously cleared dungeons in search of treasures either overlooked or left behind. In one particular uncharted dungeon, they must navigate deadly traps, face monsters they thought were long dead, and confront unforeseen horrors. So, this is kind of interesting to me because I was looking at pictures of the monsters, and I am telling you, if any of you guys or gals online have friends you want to play a party game with, these monsters look hilarious. It looks like a very funny game to play with some friends.
Kind
Um,
of like Lethal Company, Little Light Extraction.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And this one, they say that they're really focusing in on the teamwork and strategic aspect of it. We'll see how that pans out. And you can have parties of up to 6 players to make it out of the dungeon alive. It apparently is saying it offers replayability through varying scenarios and difficulty levels. And you'll take different roles, such as a trap setter, someone who is the communicator, chest opener, just different types of roles in the group. And it leans into dark fantasy. That's kind
Mm.
of the whole vibe of it.
And is there a release date for this?
Yeah, the release date is later this year. That's all that they
Okay.
gave us.
I'll have to check it out because again, like if it has that like proximity chat kind of horror, I think that'll be something fun to record.
Yeah.
Have you
So,
did you ever play a Lethal Company?
no, I've just watched a good
Dude,
bit of it.
we need to play that. Like we
Yeah.
need I'm like we will get that for you. We'll get a group and we will play that. Because I think
Okay. Okay.
because there is a lot of mods for the game. And you could add, because usually it's 4 players. You can add a mod where you could add up to 20 players if you wanted
Are
to.
you serious?
Yes, and you could do like custom outfits, custom mobs, whatever you want, and you could add like different mobs too that people have like implemented.
Yeah. 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 No, that's
Uh,
pretty cool.
and you can actually there's actually one monster. I don't remember what his name was, but he was a guy who like sneaks up behind you and he'll snap your neck if you don't like try to catch him looking like sneaking up behind you. But you can't look at him for too long because then he'll get pissed off and he'll snap your neck. There's actually a mod where you could change the role model, there's a mod where you can change the model of that character, the Bracken. That's what his name was. You could change the model of it. So I have seen people change it to Goku, Freddy Fazbear. I've seen a lot, and it's super funny. And I think that we would have a good time. Like I'd let you look through and see what mods you would want to put on if that was something that you would want to do.
No,
I
definitely.
think I
I'm
think we could
totally
definitely
interested in
find
that.
it. We could definitely find a group to play that with, and I think that'd be super fun.
Do you have anything else to add with party chat games?
The shittier they are, the shittier they look, the more fun they are. In my
That's
opinion.
exactly why I recommended this game. Listen, if any developers hear this, I'm sure it's going to be a great game. It just has the aesthetic that could be really funny to play with friends. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's all you need. Like
That's all you need.
I think what the problem is with a lot of like companies nowadays is they're trying to make something that's like, how do we make the most money off of this? How can we do, like AAA games? Like obviously they have a big budget, so they have to make a good profit. But when your main target is how do we make money instead of how do we let the community have fun? How do we let the community have a great time with this? Like I think that's where you start to lose it. Lethal Company was made by one guy and made millions. And he even promoted the mods that people were making. He was like, I'm having such a great time watching people create mods and create videos. Please keep it going. Like it's funny. And he loved it. And he made a lot of money off of it. And he's still updating the game to this day.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a super smart way to go about it because you're basically feeding into what the community wants. I mean, they don't want to play the same game forever and ever. I mean, imagine Minecraft if it was just, I mean, even if it was just a base game, it'd still be huge, but the mods
The mods
make it so much better.
I
It's
think
so much more
and I
interesting.
think no one knows the community better than the community. And I think that's why the mod community is really good.
Amusement related horror things in the world going on today. I only have one thing. Spirit Halloween opened up August 1st. Go get your Halloween stuff. That's all we have in the world of amusement stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I
You
love
a Hallow-
Halloween Express.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
we
Spirit
have
Halloween.
Spirit Halloween.
Spirit
We have
Halloween,
Spirit
Halloween
Halloweens
Effect.
up here.
We actually it's actually funny. We actually have where we live, we have a Spirit Halloween and a Halloween Express like a mile from each other. And I talked to Colleen today. I don't remember which one she said, but she was basically saying that I think she said Spirit Halloween is better. And I was like, there's no difference. She was like, don't you ever say that.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to go in there, and Just so you know, audience, we might have a little special thing planned for Halloween.
Ooh.
Maybe something. So yeah, Spirit Halloween's opened up. I want to jump into our next segment. Hot take of the day is slasher movies are the Marvel movies of horror, and it's kind of shitty how the genre is synonymous with them to non-horror fans. I think that they totally are.
So basically, you're saying that people only associate horror movies with slasher films, and that's what they base their opinions off of. And that's not really what you should be basing your opinions off of horror movies. Is that what you're saying?
So I'm basically saying that people kind of get upset with Marvel movies because the genre is like so well known. Like these superheroes aren't niche anymore. Slasher films kind of have the same vibe of everyone knows Freddy Krueger. You have kids walking around with a Freddy Krueger Jason shirt, and they've never seen the movies or with the mask and whatnot, and so people kind of get mad at that. I have an opinion, but I'd like to hear yours before I tell you mine.
So what's the disagreement? I'm sorry, I don't know if
they don't like that how mainstream it is. They don't like that it's gotten into the zeitgeist.
Like how more like popularized the movies have gotten.
Here, let me give you my opinion.
Give me your opinion and I can go off that.
I have a problem. Okay. I don't like how people like to basically own things. I don't like how people like to say this. I'm into this superhero, therefore you can't be into this superhero.
Basically, you're saying that they're gatekeeping.
They're gatekeeping.
Okay. That I disagree with. Like gatekeeping. I don't think that's a good thing. Because I do feel that a lot of people who gatekeep stuff, especially for a community that you really enjoy, if you are unwilling to let people into your community, no matter how much knowledge they have of it, then you're the problem.
You see a bad problem with this in Star Wars.
I do. I definitely see a bad problem with this in Star Wars. I don't like, because apparently, if you haven't watched every single movie, if you haven't watched every single spinoff show, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, if you haven't read all the books, then you're not a true Star Wars fan. But here's the thing. I haven't read all the books. I haven't seen all the shows, but I grew up with 1, 2, and 3, because those were coming out when we were younger, and I grew up watching 4, 5, and 6, and I did watch 7, 8, 9. I wanted to shoot myself in the head, but I watched them. But I would never go out of my way to tell someone that they are not a true Star Wars fan if they said that 8, 9, and 10, or 7, 8, and 9 are their favorites. I would say that they're stupid, but I'm not going to go out of my way and be like, hey, like, your opinion is wrong, and you're not a true Star Wars fan. Like, you just need to, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. Or it's like people who have only seen, like, 7, 8, 9. And they hadn't seen the other ones. I would, and they'd say they like Star Wars. I'd recommend going to see the other ones for sure. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that you're not a Star Wars fan and you need to like be educated before you're a true Star Wars fan. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think that that's something that you should do, because it happens with a lot of things, even things outside of the horror community. Like, if you don't know all the backstory to a certain character, if you just enjoy it, man, you enjoy it. Like, that's all it is. Like, you don't need to know every single little detail about everything,
I completely agree. It really kind of annoys me because, to me, someone who loves Nightmare on Elm Street, if I saw someone walking with a shirt that had Freddy Krueger on it, I'm like, that's so freaking sick. I love that. I don't instantly think, oh my God, they're taking my character from me. That's just kind of lame, in my opinion.
If you're part of a fan base that doesn't accept new people because they're not as informed as you are, again, you're the problem.
Amen. I actually think that we both came to the same conclusion quite quickly on that one.
I don't think that people who gatekeep, I hate people who gatekeep stuff. Because
me too.
Then it makes you feel like that you wouldn't, like, you don't feel welcomed. I think the biggest thing that a community can do is make newer people feel welcomed. Even like in games, I think like zombies is one of the biggest thing that's going on. Again, we'll talk about more of that in the next episode. But I feel like zombies has a big problem of not letting the newer generation of people enjoy the games, because that's what Treyarch has said that they're trying to do, is they're trying to bring in newer people. So that's why they made Cold War a lot easier. And a lot of people hated that because we're like, well, what about the hardcore fans? What about the fans who love the games? And I understand where they're coming from. So in Black Ops 6, they said that they're going to make a map for hardcore fans and a map for newer players, people who are now just getting into zombies, who want to grind the camos, who just want to play just to play. And a lot of people are mad about the map because it's bland. It's just a multiplayer map that looks like it was just implemented into zombies. But I think that's good for new players, like people who have not gotten into those games. I'm going to be playing the more harder map, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to like tell somebody that they're stupid for only playing the other map. It basically just, like, I'm not going to tell someone that they're stupid for only playing that one map, or you're not a true zombies fan if you haven't done every single Easter egg from World at War to Black Ops 4 or Cold War or whatever. I didn't do all the Easter eggs in Cold War because I didn't really want to. But you know what? Like, that doesn't make me less of a zombies fan. Like, if you can't tell, it's like something that kind of really like pisses me off.
Yeah,
Like,
it's understandable.
Because I've been in those communities that just want to push people away because they don't know everything. And I've never liked that whatsoever. I think everybody should be very welcoming. I think everybody should be very, open about, is it that you enjoy this, even not knowing about this kind of stuff? You know, like, like if I see someone wearing a Jason shirt, if I see someone wearing a Jason shirt and they haven't seen all the Friday the 13th, or they haven't even, maybe they haven't seen any of them. If they just like Jason for who Jason is, and they've seen like clips of the movie and they just like it because it's horror themed, then that's cool. Like, that's fine. No one, you don't have to know every single little detail about who the character is and their backstory and all the movies, everything like that. You don't need to know all that to be a part of a fan base. If you like it, you like it.
Amen. I couldn't agree more. Cool. I just have a rec, and then we're good to go. My rec for the day is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterica. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's a book, and it's a horror novel that is basically about humans who live in this world where animals have all died out. Humans eat humans in this world. So the protagonist is actually this guy who runs a meat processing plant, and he basically has to kill humans, and he feeds them to people, or he doesn't feed them to people, but he sells them. And he goes to a tannery, which, if you don't know what a tannery is, it's basically this place where they make leather, but they make leather out of humans. So it's just this cannibal-esque book, and it's really dark. I'm like halfway through, and it's pretty messed up.
I'm not the biggest book reader, so I couldn't tell you, about it. I want to get more into books. I want to get more into audiobooks.
I'll listen.
I need to find out where to listen, and the best places, because I don't want to listen to just an AI reading it or something. I want something that has like personality to read it. That's why I need to find like what has that. But it sounds. I like the premise. I think the premise sounds really cool.
It's really good.
Like animals all being gone, and it's like what do you do then? It's like people, because that there are going to be people who are going to crave meat, and they will do anything to get that meat.
And it actually ends up getting pushed by the meat companies. So the meat companies are like, well, we don't have any more ways to make money. So they're like, they push this agenda of humans on the menu, and they start breeding humans for consumption.
That's fucked up.
It's messed up.
That is really fucked up. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's good.
I think any average book reader would not really think that's good. But if you're into horror book, everything, aka book talk, I think it sounds like something that the book talk series would, like the book talk people would enjoy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think the average reader is gonna like look at that and be like, that's not something that I want to read. Yeah, I'll have to give it a chance. I'll have to. There's a few books. There's a few books that I really want to get into, and that, especially knowing that it's like horror, like I think that's something I'm gonna have to look into.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, up on the docket for the next few episodes is Jonathan's going to be bringing in some information regarding the new zombies Call of Duty lore and whatnot, and we have maybe something a little special on Halloween planned. Also, there is an inaugural episode of a subsidiary podcast on this channel going to be released at some time within the next month. So look forward to that. More information on that once it comes out. It'll be very different from this, but in the same realm of horror. So yeah, I hope you all check it out. All right, everyone. I hope y'all have a great night or day, whatever time of the day it is for you. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you for watching.